We all love a good secret, and luckily it turns out the objects we use every day are absolutely full of them. From Coke's biggest secret to how batteries really work, join me for yet another dive into some of the most amazing secrets hidden in everyday things. Cola Can Do. If you thought that Coca-Cola's best kept secret was its elusive recipe, just wait till you see what else they're hiding right under your nose. Turns out there's far more to a Coke can than meets the eye. A whole secret inner tube of plastic more. In the clip you just saw, the inner truth of an aluminum Coke can was revealed by a remarkable chemical reaction. When submerged in a highly corrosive alkaline solution containing sodium hydroxide, like drain unblocker, a Coke can goes through a chemical process known as hydrolysis. This reaction causes the aluminum in the can to dissolve, revealing a surprising secret hidden within. A plastic lining which resists dissolving. But what's it doing there? Alongside carbonated water and lots of sugar, soda contains acid. Coke is one of the most acidic drinks in our refrigerators, namely because of its contents of phosphoric and citric acid. These acids are corrosive in nature, giving Coke a pH reading of about 2.5. That's not much higher than battery acid. While we all know sodas like Coke can corrode our pearly whites, thanks Mom, did you also know that just like the alkaline we saw earlier, soda's acidity is strong enough to eat away at metal too? And seeing as Coke is sold in aluminum cans, that's where our little tube of plastic comes into play. Made from polymer or epoxy, this resin layer is installed in the manufacturing process as a protective barrier between the acidic soda and the aluminum walls of the can. Not only does this prevent the liquid from corroding the metal, in doing so it also protects the soda's flavor from being tainted by the dissolved metal. While you've probably never seen a soda can in this form, manufacturers of canned drinks have been lining the insides of their cans with this plastic coating for more than 50 years. But if manufacturers have to go through the trouble of coating every can with this protective layer, why not just do away with cans altogether in favor of purely using glass or plastic bottles? Well, not only is aluminum the most abundant metal on Earth, but aluminum cans also have a much higher rate of recycling compared to plastic and even glass bottles. So the next time you crack one open, not only are you in for some refreshing bubbles, but also a true taste of ingenious everyday design. Brush with the truth. After a reminder of just what a can of Coke can do to our pearly whites, I'd say it's time for a good old brush. While we get up close and personal with our toothbrushes at least twice a day, I hope, you might be surprised at how little you know about what you're putting in your mouth. You've probably noticed that most toothbrush heads have an array of different colored bristles. While you might have assumed these are just an extra touch for aesthetics, these bold bristles are hiding a very deliberate design secret in plain sight. Often blue in color, these colored bristles are known as toothbrush indicators and tell us when it's time to change brushes. On average, most Americans change their toothbrush just twice per year. But according to the American Dental Association, we should be switching out brushes at least 4 times a year for good oral health. Toothbrush indicators are designed to fade in color as you brush, and once most of the color has disappeared, the bristles have worn down beyond maximum effectiveness. That's when you know it's time to change your brush, you filthy animal. Cereal secrets. We're often told breakfast is the most important meal of the day, but it turns out there are also some seriously surprising breakfast secrets served up right in front of us every single morning. Nearly 3/4 of American households enjoy a bowl of cereal to start their day, but what most of those households don't know is that there's a magnetic secret hiding in every mouthful. Check this out. If you thought many cereal boxes doubling as bowls or coffee pods actually being half empty were breakfast's best kept secrets, Learning that cereal is actually magnetic probably just blew your mind as much as it did mine. Many cereals are fortified with a variety of vitamins and minerals as a way to help us meet our daily nutritional requirements. One of the most common extras found in your everyday cereal is iron. Unlike the iron that occurs naturally in other foods like beef and spinach, the iron in cereal is added as a fine powder during production that look a lot like iron filings. Iron is ferromagnetic, which is the strongest type of magnetism in existence, so even a small amount can be attracted by a magnet. This is how this flake of cereal is moving around. The iron inside it is following the magnet. But before you swear off cereal forever out of fear of breaking your teeth on chunks of metal, things aren't quite as repelling as they may appear. Even if a serving of cereal contained a full dose of recommended daily iron, which is 8 milligrams for men and 18 for women, both are even less mass than a single grain of rice. So there's really no danger attached to chomping down on your morning munchies, at least from the iron. All the sugar is another story for another time. But who knew that eating breakfast could be so metal? Batteryception. I don't know about you, but for most of my childhood, I assumed the batteries we use every day are full of liquid energy that fuels our devices. However, most batteries of the kind most household items use are actually dry-cell batteries and don't contain liquid. Instead, they're made up of electrochemical cells that convert stored chemical energy into electrical charges. These cells are usually only capable of producing around 1.5 volts of electricity each, but if added together, they can achieve a lot more. The 12-volt A23 battery, for example, often contains 8 1.5-volt cells hidden inside the larger battery wrapping. And the batteryception doesn't stop there. Some even bigger batteries like this extra long life 6-volt battery are hiding their inner cells within other batteries. Another unlikely place you'll find instances of batteries in batteries is in a Tesla car battery, which contains around 375 volts provided by hundreds of individual cells. While androids may dream of electric sheep, turns out battery manufacturers dream of how many different batteries they can fit inside bigger batteries. Push for placebo. Picture this. You walk up to a crosswalk, press the button, and wait for what seems like an eternity for that little walking man to show himself. You cross the street and for a split second you wonder, did that button actually do anything at all? Well, you're not alone. And in reality, the world is full of buttons that have been completely lying to you. Out of the 1,000 crosswalk buttons in New York City, for example, it's estimated that only about 100 of them actually serve any real function to actively stop traffic. The remaining 900 are examples of what's known as a placebo button. A button that can be pushed but has no effect whatsoever. But what's the point of all this? Invented in 1964, crosswalk buttons were first introduced in a time when city traffic was a lot lighter than the gridlocks we see today. At that time, traffic lights would remain green until a pedestrian pushed the button. As the city became more reliant on cars for transport and foot traffic increased, the crosswalk button began causing more problems than it was solving and was constantly stopping traffic in its tracks. To solve this problem, city planners have been gradually disconnecting buttons all over the city and replacing them with time traffic signals. And this has since been happening in other cities all over the world as well. So why have the buttons there at all if they don't do anything? Well, there's no official answer to this question. Some theorize that placebo buttons are placed among us as psychological tricks that give us an illusion of control. It's pretty frustrating regardless, especially considering less busy junctions, especially those in smaller towns, do still function as expected, making it pretty hard to tell when you're being duped by a dud button. And like those found at crosswalks, push-to-close elevator buttons are also suspected of employing the placebo button tactic. Turns out that the push-to-close door buttons in most elevators have been obsolete for decades, though the reason behind it is pretty uplifting. When the U.S. Americans with Disabilities Act was passed in 1990, it meant that elevator manufacturers had to remove the function of many push-to-close door buttons. This was to prevent people from getting in and closing the door before a disabled person has time to get inside. However, while most of these elevator buttons won't work by default for the public, many buildings have keys or codes that can render the buttons operational in an emergency. While placebo buttons are designed to be useless, I can think of 3 buttons that are the complete opposite that you should push right now. If you're enjoying my latest batch of everyday secrets, why not head on down and push those like, subscribe, and bell buttons to activate your liftoff into a world of incredible facts and stories that are sure to truly amaze you. All done? Great. Now on with the video. Rated Red. Even with the rise of streaming and at-home entertainment, nothing quite matches up to a trip to ye olde movie theater. The soda fountains, butter-drenched popcorn, and who can forget the iconic movie theater seat? Now you might have noticed that more or less every classic movie theater opts for red seats. This tradition partially stems back to a trend set by 18th century Italian opera houses, which were decked out with regal-looking red seats to attract wealthy clientele. However, the color choice in movie theaters today is also a very deliberate design decision that's specially selected to trick your eyes. Our eyes have two different types of cells that work together to help us detect the presence of light and color. The rods are most sensitive to changes in light, shape, and movement, but are not good for color vision. The cones, meanwhile, are most sensitive to color, but they work in bright light, which is why color is harder to see in the dark. Different colors have different wavelengths, which affect our ability to see them in low light. The shorter a color's wavelength, the easier it is for our cones to detect them in darker conditions. Red light has a longer wavelength than any other color in the spectrum, so it's the first color we lose the ability to identify in the dark, even when other colors are still visible. This is known as the Purkinje effect, which is in full effect when the lights go down at the start of a movie. As the red seats, walls, and curtains quickly fade into the darkness, our eyes can focus their full attention on the screen. And we're not done seeing red just yet. There's no doubt the image of a red barn in a quaint field is as American as the 4th of July and apple pie. But have you ever stopped to wonder why this iconic shade is a farmer's first choice? Some believe that farmers painted barns in a rusty hue so they would appear to be made of bricks, a more expensive material that made farmers appear wealthier. Another popular belief is that farmers paint barns red to help their cows find their way home, which seems smart until you find out that cows are colorblind in all colors except yellow and blue. Now, we could talk about all these theories till the cows do or don't come home, but the reality is a much clearer picture. The early farmers that settled in New England didn't have the extra money for paint, but still needed a way to protect their unpainted barns from the elements. The result was a rusty-colored mixture of skimmed milk, lime, linseed oil, and red iron oxide from the New England soil, which has been found to limit the weathering of wooden surfaces. Talk about a humble beginning. Farmers to this day still paint their barns red in homage to their forefathers' ingenuity, though utilizing the entirely modern stroke of genius that is Home Depot. Bread tags. Without a doubt, the most iconic lunch menu item of all time, the humble sandwich would be nothing without 2 slices of good old bread. Americans eat more than 300 million sandwiches every single day. That's a human-to-sandwich ratio of around 1:1. That number of sandwiches requires a colossal amount of bread, so it's no surprise that a loaf of bread is a staple for almost everyone's grocery list. You've likely noticed the colorful tags that seal bread bags, but did you realize that these tags hold the secret to the sandwich of your dreams? While the different colors are mostly there to help employees know when to refresh the bread on the shelves, being in on this color code can also help you shop smarter. Each color tag corresponds to a different day of the week, with each loaf tagged with a color corresponding to the day the bread was baked. While there's no universal code for what each color symbolizes, generally the schedule most grocery stores use is something like this. Loaves baked and packaged on Monday are tagged blue, Tuesday loaves with green, Thursday bread has a red tag, Friday with white, and Saturday dons a yellow tag. If you're wondering why there are no color tags for Wednesdays and Sundays, that's because these are days that most bread bakeries take a day off from production. Now you know this tag secret, you can use your powers for the good of all sandwiches by picking out the freshest loaf every time you shop. Happy sandwiching! Speed chumps. While many drivers consider them quite the nuisance, there's no denying that speed bumps are an essential part of road safety. Designed to slow drivers down in areas where there's a lot of pedestrians, speed bumps generally slow drivers down to between 2 and 10 miles per hour. While driver and pedestrian safety is the priority, some experts believe that speed bumps may not be so safe for our planet. According to the UK's National Health Institute, because speed bumps cause drivers to frequently accelerate and decelerate, which increases car emissions, they may be inadvertently contributing to traffic noise and air pollution. As a solution, city planners in London, England have given fake speed bumps a test drive. How can a speed bump be fake, you may ask? Well, if you take a look at these bumps side on, you'll see that they're actually completely flat and are merely an optical illusion. From the driver's seat point of view, the faux bumps are painted in such a way that they appear raised like regular speed bumps, when in reality they're not. Experts claim the optical illusion could reduce emissions by up to 20% thanks to the smoother driving experience the faux bumps facilitate, as the drivers don't have to accelerate as hard afterwards to counteract the decelerating slope of a real speed bump. I mean, it's a pretty clever way to get people to drive safely in an eco-friendly way, but does anyone else feel like it's a little deceptive? Even the roads can't be trusted these days. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Powerful symbols. While we all know we need food and water to power our bodies, there's one other power source that has become just as essential in our daily lives: the coveted USB. Fully powered electronic devices have grown to rule our daily lives, and you probably pop your phone and other devices on to charge multiple times a day without a second thought. While we all know that this symbol refers to USBs, you might not know that this small but mighty emblem of power has quite the mysterious history. Short for Universal Serial Bus, many intriguing theories have been put forward over the years for what the USB symbol means. The most popular theory was that the symbol is a representation of Neptune's trident, known as the Drysack. While the Drysack symbolizes the power of the sea, those who propose this theory suggest the USB's three-pronged trident could symbolize the power of technology and adaptability. While it's fun to theorize, the mystery of the USB symbol may have a more official solution. In 2020, Quora user Jim Dowse claimed that he was the designer behind the elusive USB symbol and that the real meaning behind it was a far cry from the suggested theories. Jim claims that he came up with the symbol while working as a technical illustrator at the Digital Equipment Corporation in the 1980s, and it was later assigned to the USB, which was invented in the 90s. As opposed to any fantastical links to mythology, Jim claims that the trident-like design is actually meant to represent connectivity. The larger circle at the base of the symbol represents a computer, while the smaller circle and triangle and square connected to it represent the multiple different outputs a device like USB could potentially be used for. So when the USB technology emerged, the generic symbol Jim had been tasked with designing proved perfect for it. Of course, these are merely the claims of one man online, so could be fabricated, but they certainly seem believable. And it's not just the USB. There are a mass of technological symbols whose true meaning escapes our notice every single day. Take the power symbol for instance. The simple circle broken by a small line is believed to have been derived from the binary system, with the number 1 standing for power and 0 indicating power off. But hey, don't hit that power button just yet. We've got even more amazing secrets coming right up. Heinz and Seek. One of the most recognizable brands out there, there's no doubt that Heinz is the undisputed king of condiments. When you go to a restaurant that's serving Heinz, you know that means they care about quality. Or does it? As an established household brand, Heinz costs more than many ketchups used in the catering industry. But some restaurants have been using this fact to fool their customers. Shockingly, 20% of restaurants surveyed by Heinz admit to refilling Heinz ketchup bottles with cheaper alternatives to save money. And Heinz isn't happy. In response to this epidemic of counterfeit ketchup, Heinz has devised a solution, and it all lies in the label. On some of the bottles distributed to restaurants, Heinz has transformed their iconic label into a control tool to help consumers check whether the ketchup they're being served is truly Heinz. The new label includes a red outline that has been perfectly color matched to Heinz ketchup. On an authentic bottle of Heinz ketchup, this border is almost invisible. But if there's imposter sauce inside, it stands out as a blaring warning that you're the victim of ketchup fraud. That'll teach those saucy devils. Case is cracked. While it's a no-brainer that a suitcase needs a zipper, you might have noticed that most suitcases have not just one, but two little pull tabs on their zippers. Those nifty little sliders are known in the industry as cars, by the way, so there's a free hot steaming fact right out of the gates. Now, we're all familiar with the anxiety that comes along with traveling with an overloaded suitcase, and while it might seem like the bulging case is working against you, its two zippers are secretly rooting for you to succeed. While an overloaded case could pull a single zipper car apart, a second zipper pull acts as a failsafe if the first were to fail, allowing you to still close your case. Not only that, but having two zipper pulls allows you to reach into just a small corner of your case without having to open the entire thing. Two zips also allow you to padlock your suitcase for extra security even without a built-in lock system. Yet another lesser-known protective design feature on some suitcases are these plastic tabs that help to protect the case from the bumpy journey that happens behind the scenes at airports, offering a little shock absorption in case your case meets with a disgruntled baggage handler. Because Lord knows careless baggage handlers certainly exist. Dang it, Bobby. My prize glass, egg, and porcelain doll collection was in there. Match point. Whether you're a tennis player or not, everyone is familiar with the iconic tennis racket. But I'll bet you didn't realize just how much thought is put into its design. This open space just beneath the racket's frame is called the throat. And while you've probably seen players use this area to hold spare balls, that's not really why it's there. Also known simply as the triangle, the throat is an integral part of a tennis racket's aerodynamic ability. The open space allows air to pass directly through the racket, creating a lot less drag when swinging. It's something absent from vintage tennis equipment and makes the old wooden rackets feel pretty cumbersome by comparison. For a second serve of tennis factoids now, while everyone knows that the markings on the court play an integral role in every tennis match, you might not realize that the position of the court itself can be even more important. While you'd never notice it from the ground, if you take a look from the sky, you'll find that most tennis courts, like these ones at Wimbledon, mysteriously face the exact same direction. But what's the reason for this aligned orientation? Seeing as tennis is mostly played outdoors, the position of the sun can play a significant role in the fairness of a game. If the sun rises or sets right behind a player, it could really impact their opponent's vision and performance. Seeing as the sun moves from east to west during the day, many tennis courts are specifically built to have a north-south orientation to avoid the sun as much as possible. This way, the sun will always be located to the side of the court, with any glare affecting both players equally. Unfortunately, many clubs are built on plots of land that don't offer enough space for a real choice of orientation. So if you ever find yourself losing a match, double check which way your court's facing. It might be that you're at an unfair disadvantage, or at least you can choose to blame it on that. Conical cleverness. The office water cooler is the best place to get in on all the office gossip. But what you may not realize is that there's an even juicier everyday secret right there in your hand. While easy to hold, the cone-shaped cups commonly found by water coolers are specifically designed to encourage quick drinking, as the cups can't be placed on flat surfaces. This also prevents employees from taking water-filled cups back to set down on desks, where it could be knocked over and spilled over computers and other electrical equipment. But the true reason behind the cone cup shape may really lie with sustainability and money saving. As water cooler cups are designed to be single-use, cone-shaped cups are actually less wasteful as they require less paper to construct compared to the regular shaped cups, and hence cost less too. Plus, most importantly of all, they make for one hell of a stylish hat. Shave New World. For many guys out there, shaving is an essential daily ritual. But the next time you lather up, you'll know there's a hidden everyday secret that's been smoothly passing you by. Check it out. While you might be wondering why there's a blank Capri Sun inside your can of shaving gel, I wouldn't recommend trying a swig. While shaving foam is packaged in a traditional aerosol can containing both product and gas mixed together, shaving gel uses what's known as bag-on-valve filling. In cans with these latter types of fillings, the product is filled into an aluminum pouch which is attached to the valve. The extra space in the can is filled with compressed air, which squeezes the pouch every time you press the trigger at the top of the can. Bet you never thought that there could be so many mechanics behind a smooth chin. It's a Shave New World indeed. Ballin' in Secrets. With hundreds of domestic leagues, cup competitions, and international tournaments taking place each year, countless games of professional soccer, or football for most of the world, are being played every single day. If you're one of the 3.5 billion footy fans worldwide, you've probably lost count of the number of games you've watched. But you'll never watch one the same way again after hearing this. Thanks to the power of technology, the role of the referee has become more precise than ever before with the introduction of video assistant referee systems back in 2012. But now a new footy invention has booted its way onto the field, and it could change the face of soccer as we know it. In 2022, the World Cup introduced these rechargeable footballs that are specially designed to help referees make decisions during games. The balls are fitted with special electronic sensors suspended inside. The sensors are able to send data 50 times per second to the VAR system to help determine the ball's precise position and kick point, which helps detect offside disputes more accurately for a fairer game overall. Is it a little ridiculous that professional soccer players now need to charge their balls before playing? Maybe. But honestly, with the way the world's headed, it's probably not long before we all have to plug ourselves into the wall to charge overnight, so perhaps we should just get used to it. What do you make of our latest batch of Everyday Secrets? Do you know of any we've missed so far in the series? Let me know in the comments below, and we'll be sure to use the best ones in our next part. Thanks for watching.